Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. So you joined me in the workshop back on the T140. It is Saturday the 14th of October. Yes, the Saturday before this bike is due to go for its MOT on Wednesday. I've just got back from the Stafford show, so it is late in the afternoon. I've got a hoard of parts here, the various things that was on the list, but as you can see over here, we've done quite a bit of work. Some of it you will have seen, some of you haven't. We have a primary drive. It is back together. I need to adjust the tensions a little bit over tight there, but it's back together. The slipper blades in down here, so you can see that, and we've got the rotor for the alternator in place, which is a nice, reasonably good second-hand one, better than the one that was on there anyway. So that's all done and buttoned up, and then we came to try the Kickstart. Now we have managed to get the engine turned over. It's got good compression, and we know the electronic ignition is working. We got a base static timing done, but the Kickstart was sticking down, and you can see now. Yep, that's right. We've taken it apart again. I wasn't overly happy with some of the Kickstart components, so I can dig them out. So here is all the original Kickstart components. So what you have is float washer shim that goes onto the end of the main shaft on the gearbox, and then you have this inner sleeve that sits within the effectively the driven pinion that then drives this, which is splined onto the main shaft. So this is driven by the Kickstart. This then drives the main shaft, which turns the engine over, and then when you let off, that's the ratchet, like so. So it has to work against this spring and against this float washer. Now what I did notice, hopefully this comes up on the camera, but this has got quite a convex to it and is quite damaged. There's a piece missing off the end of this spring, and we also weren't overly confident on how healthy this Kickstart return spring was. So much to his dismay, Luke has put his hand in his pocket, so fair play to him, and we have an absolutely brand new Kickstart spring, return spring, which as you can see is nowhere near as bunched up as the original fitted. So we got that, and also in here is replacement float washer, which you can see it's distinctly more open than that one. And also in here is the end float shim, which is much less worn than this one. So we're hoping the combination of those parts will fix the Kickstart issue. But what we also then, or what I just came to notice when I got back, which the kind gentleman that sold us these parts pointed out, he says just make sure you've got the dowels in place, because without that you can get misalignment in the case. And I should have noticed that, but I didn't, because we were in a rush as per usual. So I've just taken it apart, and you can see we don't have any dowels. We couldn't source any while we were at the show. Nobody seemed to have them. Everybody says, yeah, I've got some back at base. So I thought, well, I can get some from the classic bike shop, so if we come down to crunch, I can get some Monday. But I've got two options here. What I'm potentially going to do is go to Martin's today, maybe, and stick this 5/16 bar I've got in his lathe and turn out some spacers if my next plan doesn't work. I've got plenty of stock here, excuse me, I've got plenty of stock here to make several of these, which I might do because I keep having to look for things. And what I'm going to do is cut a little bit off this bar stock. I'm going to attempt to do it in the pillar drum. It could go horribly wrong, we will soon find out, but I'm going to do it now. Well, that worked. You can see here is my premium lathe, and I've got the outer case cleaned up. A little bit more to do here, but not too much. That's pretty much good to go. I've got most of the new and the old Kickstart components laid out there, and over here I've got the inner outer gearbox cover, inner gearbox cover, whatever this is, and my lovely two new dowels I've made in place. So they seem good and ready. I've tried the bolts in, they're centered enough for that to work. So now we move our attention to the gearbox, to the Kickstart, should I say. So what I need to do is get rid of that Kickstart spring, swap him over for this one, and then we'll start building this up, hopefully get it back together. Sorry folks, realised I was putting the spring on, I hadn't turned the camera on. So I've got the manual over here on the screen, and it says that the spring detent should line up with the gear or tooth that is in line with that edge. So it's saying it wants to go there. And I've got my soft jaws in there, so that'll be fine. Stick this in there, like so. I'm going to get a couple of screwdrivers and try not to lose my fingers, is what I'm doing right now. This spring is tight, that is for sure. My word. I'm going to lose an eye in a minute. Okay, so he's on there. He's on there. He's on. Whether he wants to be or not, he's on. And he's snugged round. So, that's our new spring in place. Seemed to work. Drop him back in that sleeve bush and through the seal, like so. And then the spring, hopefully you can see this, I need to check on the screen. So the spring drops onto this pin here, like so, and he's in there. And then I need to put the Kickstart lever, wherever that's ended up, onto the end of the Kickstart, like so. Just take the Kickstart, wind it 1.5 turns around until it's basically back where it started, and then you have to go a little bit further to get that to engage into the case, and then you can let it go. But before we can do that, now that's all in place, you get these new parts back on the end of the main shaft. Success! So I think that's a win. I've now got to pull that case back off, and it is literally a case of greasing a gasket, get that fitted, get all the bolts back in, and repeat what we've just done. So I'm not going to show that, but just to rest assured, that is what I'm doing. The new gasket is here, and of course we have another spare just in case it decides to be a joke Kickstart and play up after the fact. So yeah, going forward, I'm going to do that now. And I'll join back with you and we'll start messing about with some of the other goodies that we've got from the Staffordshire. So we've got the Kickstart all in place, buttoned up. I've got the rocker covers to put on and the primary cover, but my next step is lucky dip in the bag scrubbers for the headlight. So we're going to get those in. Dropping everything. Get those in place, get the harness in, we'll get the headlight switch in place, and hopefully the lens, and that's all buttoned up nice.